Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our opportunity to pay proper respect to those who have gone before us, some who have paid the ultimate price. We're grateful for the freedom we enjoy and to be able to assemble in situations as like this throughout the country. It is very appropriate that we thank Pat Teague and her crew for how they prepared this cemetery again and this Veterans Court of Honor. It is absolutely spectacular. There are 320 of these casket flags and 1,470 of the small flags on the veterans who sleep here in these very beautiful circumstances. We extend always a thanks to Mike Kawasaki for the audio and video that he donates every year. Grateful for Mike. And for the members of the VFW and of the American Legion who are here to participate in our ceremonies today. And we're privileged also to have some youth. To have the high school band here representing the best of the youth in Gridley. Grateful to have them here. We'll proceed with the program now with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Al Byers, commander of the VFW Post 5731, and then the national anthem by Kerry Wheeler and the invocation by Father Brown of the Sacred Heart Catholic Church. Would you please stand?
Those who wish and salute. I pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
God of every land and nation, we gather in your presence today in remembrance of those who have given their lives in service of our country. We know that even as they have departed our company, they remain in your presence. Grant that through our prayers lifted up on their behalf, they might come to know the peace of your kingdom. We are grateful, Heavenly Father, that you have been pleased to draw us together as a people composed of every language and race, people and tongue. Allow us today who owe our freedom to those who have given all, to preserve what they have won for us in freedom of religion and defense of those who are weak. We recognize that those who have given the ultimate sacrifice received courage and perseverance from your hand. Even as from every trench and foxhole prayers have been lifted up to your name, allow our voices to be heard before you as we seek your favor for those who have suffered for us. Your Son, through his own 3 days in the tomb, hallowed the graves of all who have died. Grant that we who stand amongst these monuments of those who have gone before us may worthily intercede on their behalf. Gracious Lord, in the book of Sirach we read that you encourage those who are losing hope and provide a way back to those who repent. Allow that we not waver in our nation's dedication to defend life and liberty for each child of yours, but rather be emboldened by the witness of those who have laid down their lives for our freedom and whose blood is emblazoned on our banner. Do not permit that we wither away into a feeble self-interest, but rather preserve the sacred trust that has been delivered to us by those willing to shed their blood for others. Strengthened by their witness and remembering the words of your Son, who said that no greater love has no one than this, than to lay down our lives for each other, grant that your favor may truly establish us in a brotherhood that extends from sea to shining sea, until one day at last we join our forebears before your throne. Amen.
We will now hear from Jeff Draper, Mayor of the City of Gridley, the Honorable Roger Frith, Mayor of Biggs, and they will be followed in this order. Becca Sears, a Biggs High School student, and Andrew Perez, a Biggs High School student. And following them, then Brianna Brockman will render God Bless America, and we'll go to that point.
Well, good morning. My name is Jeff Draper, and I have the privilege of being the mayor of Gridley. On behalf of the City of Gridley, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this annual Memorial Day program at the Military Veterans Court of Honor. It is a special day. It's an important day. It's a day we pause to pay tribute to those who died to protect our freedom. And as we know, freedom does not survive without those willing to fight and sacrifice for it. And your presence here today is a tribute to those troops, lost troops, and to their families. We remember. So thank you all for coming today, and thank you to those who have served and are serving our country. May God bless you.
Good morning. Colonel Behunin, VFW Post 5731, American Legion Post 210, honored guests, my fellow veterans. On behalf of all the citizens of Biggs, welcome to today's ceremonies. As we gather across our great nation today to honor the fallen men and women of our military, we must remember they gave their all defending our nation and its ideals, putting country before self. Not only are we reminded of the sacrifices of these men and women who gave their lives in service to our nation, we are reminded it is our duty to always remember and honor their memories. We must never forget the sacrifice of these heroes. We would be remiss if we failed to give a very special thank you to all Gold Star mothers and surviving former POWs. To the families and friends of all who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country, we can never adequately thank you. I wish to express my thanks to all who have served, all who have fought, and all who have given the ultimate sacrifice for the freedom we enjoy today. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, my name is Becca Sears. I'm from Biggs High School. I was asked to write a speech on why I love America. I spent weeks thinking, what could I possibly say? what would you, the audience, like to hear? As thoughts were running through my mind, I wondered, would what I have to say be enough? Finally, I realized that I already had the words I was looking for. All I have to do is speak from the heart. The United States of America. The U.S. of A. The U.S. America. Whatever you would like to call it is fine, but to me, it's home. America is a place of equality. We do not discriminate on gender, color, religion, or sexual orientation. Yet with everyone being so different, we're all united in our love for our country. It is because of this love that motivates us to serve our country. Whether it's through community service or being one of the brave citizens that serve in the military. Even in our hardest times, we band together to help and support one another. Natural disasters, such as what happened in Oklahoma, can strike at any time and ruin lives. But we reach out and pull together to help those in need. People are drawn here as America is a land of opportunity. There are many things that we, as Americans, are given, but often take for granted. We have schools and medical care that others in this world do not have and cannot afford. We have the ability to choose what we will do in life. There are no set rules, no caste system that we have to follow. By working hard, we can achieve whatever it is that we want to do. We have the freedoms to speak what we feel, and with our democratic government, our voices are heard. America is beautiful. The scenery changes from state to state. And with the national park system, we have the chance to enjoy it all. Everyone has such strong national pride in our country, and its beauty is just a small part why. On this Memorial Day, I'd like us all just to take a moment to think about the American citizens, past and present, who have served our military. Without them fighting to protect our country, we wouldn't have a country to call ours. I'm so glad that America is my home, and yours as well. America belongs to all of us. So let me ask a question. What do you love about America? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Perez, and I'm currently a junior attending Biggs High School. And this is why I love America. America is the home of the brave, but more importantly, the land of the free. Because of freedom, we are allowed to pursue whatever it is we desire, whether it be attending school, joining the military to serve this great nation, our nation. I am very grateful for those who do indeed serve our nation. They fight and die for our freedom, the reason why we get to enjoy being free. This is why you all attend today, to honor those who have fought for us and who are currently fighting to maintain our freedom. And so they have, without a doubt, gained my respect. Freedom is a dream many wish to have. Those from other countries who do not have that God-given right are indeed robbed from a life of opportunity. They wish to be free of dictatorship. They wish to be free to pursue their dreams. To imagine a life without freedom is to imagine a life with no hope or future. Because of freedom, I am allowed to pursue my dream of going to college at Chico State. Because of freedom, no one can stop me from doing so. This is a dream many hope to complete. Those without freedom are sadly denied that right to further their education and start a happy and successful career. Therefore, freedom is the reason why I love America. I can pursue my dreams, and our veterans are the reason why. Thank you.
Really grateful to have the participation of the youth. We will now have the commemorative tributes by the veterans of foreign wars post 5731 and the Ladies Auxiliary. That will be by Al Byers and Lynn Spencer. American Legion Post 210 and Ladies Auxiliary, Owen Stiles and Donna Thompson. Military Officers Association of America, Lieutenant Colonel William Westcott, and and a Vietnam Veterans Organization by Butch Frederickson. And they'll be followed by the Armed Forces salute. And when they play your song, please stand, all right?
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
On this day, forever consecrated to our heroic dead, we are assembled once again to express sincere reverence. This monument represents the resting place of many departed comrades who have served in all wars. Wherever the body of a comrade lies, there the ground is hallowed. Our presence here in the solemn commemoration of all these men, an expression of our tribute to their devotion to duty, to their courage and patriotism. By their services on land, on sea, and in the air, they have made us their debtors. For the flag of our nation still flies over a land of free people. As officers and members of the VFW Post 5731, veterans of foreign wars of the United States, we now pay our respect to our departed comrades. In so doing, we offer solemn tribute to all comrades, wherever they may rest. Comrades.
On behalf of the Ladies Auxiliary, the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, I place this emblem of eternity. Its colors bespeaks life everlasting. This we do immortalize the brave deeds of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who have given their lives on land, on sea, and in the air.
Morning. Scripture tells us that there's no greater love than a man laying down his life for his friends. The men and women that we honor and remember today have proven that they are not just friends to us as Americans, but they're friends to men and women in countries around the world. One such man, Sergeant William Stacy, epitomized what it meant to be an NCO officer in the United States Marine Corps. He was described by a journalist embedded in Afghanistan as having a bright and concentrated flame within him that could cut through stone. It spelled death and failure for his enemies and gave life to his comrades. On January 23rd, 2012, this 23-year-old Reading native, already in his 4th deployment to Afghanistan, was killed by an IED while walking patrol in the Helmand province. Like many going to combat, Sergeant Stacy wrote a letter home to be read in the event he would give his life. Quote, "My death did not change the world. It may be tough for you to justify its meaning at all, but there's a greater meaning to it. Perhaps I did not change the world, but there will be a child who lives because men left the security they enjoyed in their home country to come to his. And this child will learn in the new schools that have been built. He will walk his streets, not worried about whether or not his leader's henchmen are going to come home and kidnap him. He will grow into a fine young man who will pursue every opportunity his hearts could desire. He will have the gift of freedom, which I have enjoyed so long. If my life buys the safety of a child who will one day change the world, then I know it was worth it." Unquote. 60 years ago, America was engaged in a horrific war in the Korean Peninsula. Many died there, so many could live. 87-year-old Herbert Miller survived combat in World War II, but would not be alive today if not for the action of Captain Emil Kapan, who encountered Miller as he lay frozen in bloody trench in North Korea. Suffering from a grenade wound, broken ankle, now captured by the Chinese, Miller was lifted and carried by Father Kapan, a Catholic chaplain. Selfishly put the needs of his fellow soldiers ahead of himself. When Miller protested, Kapan simply said, "If I put you down, they'll shoot you." After coming down with pneumonia and dysentery, Father Kapan died in a camp hospital the POWs called the Death House. For his heroism, he was awarded the Medal of Honor this past April 11th. Prior to his capture, all able-bodied men in his unit were ordered to evacuate. He refused. He elected to stay behind, provide medical care and comfort to his comrades. We owe it to Father Kapan and Sergeant Stacy and nearly 1 million other men and women who have died defending America since our nation's founding to live the life to a fullest. We owe it to them. Earn this, as Captain Miller implored his surviving comrades to do in Saving Private Ryan, a fictional story, but dead-on accurate portrayal of the bravery demonstrated by America's military again and again. Ladies and gentlemen, I would argue that their sacrifice made by countless American heroes has indeed changed the world. There's a simplistic and naive belief that war doesn't solve anything. I suppose that's true, unless you count winning America's independence, the preservation of our union, elimination of slavery, the toppling of fascism and communism and imperialism, and now terrorist regimes. We can earn this by remembering their families, who have sacrificed so much. Long after the guns have been silenced and the bombs have stopped exploding, children of our fallen warriors will still be missing a parent. Spouses will be without their partners. Parents will continue to grieve for their heroic sons and daughters that died way too early. We need to be there for them, not just as members of veterans organizations, but as American citizens. Nobody can replace these fallen heroes, especially in the eyes of their families. But we can offer a shoulder to cry on. Assistance with educational expenses. Assurance their loved ones will not sacrifice will be forgotten. Americans must remember that freedom isn't free. In fact, it's only possible because our fallen heroes have paid the high price. A price paid which enables us to have ceremonies like this in towns across this great country. Originally called Decoration Day, the alternative name Memorial Day wasn't commonly used until World War II. Federal law recognized the holiday as Memorial Day in 1967. It's not about beaches, picnics, or auto races. It's a day to remember, a day for us to remember. The promise President Lincoln made to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and orphans. Remembering our fallen once a year is not enough. The widows, widowers, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, and children, they remember every day. The empty seat at the dinner table, the smaller gathering on Thanksgiving, and the voice of a loved one heard only as a distant memory is one mind, constant reminders that they are gone. We owe it to those that died and the loved ones left behind to make sure that their sacrifices are remembered and that their service to this nation always will be honored. Sergeant Stacy, Father Capan, believed the sacrifice was worth it. It's up to us to prove them right. May God bless them all. Thank you.
Memorial Day must be commemorated. Their sacrifice is meaningless without remembrance. This nation mourns the loss of all Americans who have died defending our country throughout the world since 1775. And these men and women had one thing in common. They had a love of and loyalty to our country and gave their lives to preserve the freedoms that we enjoy today. This wreath is placed in their memory on behalf of the Valley Ridge chapter of the Military Officers Association of the United States.
Now have the Armed Forces salute led by the Gridley Band. When your song is played, please stand. Army. Coast Guard. Brains. Air Force. Navy. Thank you very much. It's my privilege now to introduce our main speaker, Butch Frederickson. Butch completed Navy boots camp in May of 1967, and he served 3 tours in Vietnam. The first two, 1967 and 68, and 68 and 69, in northern Vietnam from Da Nang north to the DMZ. During these tours, his unit supported the siege at Quai Son and the Battle of Hue during the Tet Offensive. Upon his return to the States, Butch was assigned to Coronado, San Diego, California for assault boat school, counterinsurgency training, and more weapons training. Returning to Vietnam in 1970 and 71, he was assigned to the swift boats out of Cat Lo in the Mekong Delta. He lived with and served with the Vietnamese, being the only American in his unit. Butch concluded his service in the Navy as a E-5 boatswain Class 2. His decorations include National Defense Medal, Vietnam Service Medal, Vietnam Campaign Medal with 7 stars, Presidential Unit Citation, Navy Commendation Medal with V for Valor, and the Republic of Vietnam Cross of Gallantry and Coster. My privilege to introduce to you now Butch Frederickson.
This much. I had to run back a few minutes ago to get my glasses. I forgot them. Good morning to all the veterans out there. Thank you. Vietnam veterans, welcome home. I'm going to talk about Vietnam a bit, go back a little bit in history, So I've called this Vietnam, a generation divided to a nation united for freedom. I'd like to start this with a little bit of a warning. I made up my mind a long time ago that rather than being politically correct, I'd rather be correct. A little bit of a history on me, as he said. As I was introduced, I entered the Navy in 1967 and got out in 1971. During the 4 years I was in, I did 3 tours of duty in Vietnam, which took in parts of all 5 years. It's just kind of the way the dates fell. Now, unofficially, there are multiple areas one can be a part of in the Navy. For instance, what we refer to as the real Navy is made up of the larger blue water ships such as aircraft carriers, cruisers, destroyers, etc. What we call the Gator Navy or amphibious Navy consists of landing ships and boats. They operate close to shore and in larger inland waterways, landing personnel, equipment, and everything logistically needed to put ground troops in place and give them what they need to stay there and fight. My first 2 tours were spent in the Gator Navy. 2 of the battles that we helped with, and you may recognize, were during the Tet Offensive of 1968. They were North Vietnam's offensive attack at Hue and the Siege of Khe Sanh. These 2 tours were spent mostly from south of Da Nang up to the DMZ, dividing North and South Vietnam. Another part of the Navy is the Brown Water Navy. This made up my 3rd tour in Vietnam. There were several types of boats that made up the coastal and riverine forces. Here is a paraphrase quote from a special warfare site about special boat teams. While the Navy SEALs enjoy the limelight, and I believe they should, as far as especially the Navy is concerned, of naval special warfare, they are not the Navy's only special warfare unit. Special boat teams also make up a part of the Navy's special warfare unit. Special boat teams began in Vietnam in 1964 and grew in size and diversity over the next few years. The Navy began to specially train selected members in a selection process designed to funnel competent, literal, meaning close to shore, warriors to the Mekong Delta. Training stressed teamwork, adaptability, mental ability, physical skills, and toughness. When I read that, it made me feel a little bit special. Upon completion of the selection process, training phase, members were authorized to wear a black beret and were more often than not given orders to the Vietnam theater. I was trained in Coronado on assault boats, then did on-the-job training on PCFs or swift boats, as they're more commonly known, when I got in country. We did a lot of patrolling alone, but also were sent with other boats for some of the operations. We also work with other special warfare units such as SEAL teams. Swifties are known as the grandfathers to what the SEALs have now to transport and support them. We were an experiment that worked, and they have honed it into something very special now. I am proud of my service in Vietnam, and if asked, I would do it again, provided that we were allowed to win. This brings me to another part of that era. It is a generation divided. To start out, I'll have to go back a little. The World War II generation has come to be known as the greatest generation. When you think about having gone through the Great Depression, then not only going into a world war, but winning it, I believe that title is justified. I have heard my generation referred to as the ugly generation. When all things are taken into consideration, I can't totally disagree. A counterculture was born, so a division in our country was also born. For my generation, I believe that division is permanent with some individual exceptions. An exception would be an open letter that a lady wrote to Vietnam veterans. But before I read that, I'd like to read something else. This is by an author unknown, but very obviously was a Vietnam veteran. It's called The Creation of the Vietnam Veteran. When the Lord was creating Vietnam veterans, he was into his 6th day of overtime working on the fully operational model when an angel appeared. The angel said to the Lord, "You're certainly doing a lot of fiddling around with this one." And God said, "Have you seen the specs on this order? A non-vet has to be able to run 5 clicks through the bush with a full pack on, endure with barely any sleep for days, enter tunnels full of rats, spiders, and the enemy, all while keeping his weapons clean and operable. He has to be able to sit in his foxhole all night during an attack, hold his buddies as they die, walk point in unfamiliar territory known to be BC infested, and somehow keep his sense of alert for danger. He has to be in top physical condition, existing on sea rats and very little rest, and he has to have 6 pairs of hands." The angel shook his head slowly and said, "6 pair of hands? No way." The Lord says, "It's not the hands that are causing me the problems. It's the 3 pair of eyes the non-vet has to have." "That's on the standard model?" asked the angel. The Lord nodded. 1 pair that sees through elephant grass, another pair here in the side of his head for his buddies, another pair here in front that he can look reassuringly at his bleeding fellow soldier and say, "You'll make it," when he knows he won't. "Lord, rest and work on this tomorrow." "I can't," said the Lord, "not until I have a model that can carry a wounded soldier 1,000 meters during a firefight, calm the fears of the latest FNG, and feed a family of 4 on a grunt's paycheck." The angel walked around the model and said, "Can it think?" "You bet," said the Lord. "It can quote much of the UCMJ, recite all of the general orders, and engage in a search and destroy mission in less time than it takes for his fellow Americans back home to discuss the morality of the war, and all the while keeping a sense of humor." The Lord gazed into the future and said, "He will also endure being vilified and spit on when he returns home, rejected and crucified by the very ones for which he fought." Finally, the angel slowly ran his finger across the vet's cheek and said, "There's a leak. I told you that you were trying to put too much into this model." "That's not a leak," the Lord said. "That's a tear." "What's the tear for?" asked the angel. "It's for bottled up emotion, for holding fallen soldiers as they die, for commitment to that funny piece of cloth called the American flag, for the terror of living with PTSD for decades after the war alone with its demons, with no one to care or help." "You're a genius," said the angel, casting a gaze at the tear. The Lord looked very somber, as if seeing down eternity's distant shores. "I didn't put it there," he said. This is from a lady that started on the other side of that. It is an open letter to Vietnam veterans. It starts out, "Dear hero, I was in my 20s during the Vietnam era. I was a single mother, and I'm sad to say I was probably one of the most self-centered people on the planet. To be perfectly honest, I didn't care one way or the other about the war. All I cared about was me, how I looked, what I wore, and where I was going. I worked and I played. I was never politically involved in anything, but I allowed my opinions to be formed by the media. It happened without my ever being aware. I listened to the protest songs, and I watched the 6 o'clock news, and I listened to all the people who were talking. After a while, I began to repeat their words, and if you were to ask me, I would have told you I was against the war. It was very popular. Everyone was doing it. And we never saw what it was doing to our men. All we were shown was that they were doing what they were doing to the people of Vietnam. My brother joined the Navy, and then he was sent to Vietnam. When he came home, I repeated the words to him. It surprised me at how angry he became. I hurt him very deeply, and there were years of separation, not only of miles, but also of character. I didn't understand. In fact, I didn't understand anything until one day I opened my newspaper and saw the anguished face of a Vietnam veteran. The picture was taken at the opening of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. His countenance revealed the terrible burden of his soul. As I looked at his picture and his tears, I finally understood a tiny portion of what you had given for us and what we had done to you. I understood that I had been manipulated, but I also knew that I had failed to think for myself. It was like waking up out of a nightmare, except the nightmare was real. I didn't know what to do. One day about 3 years ago, I went to a member of the church I attended at the time. Because he had served in Vietnam, I asked him if he had been in Vietnam, and he got this look on his face and said, yes. Then I took his hand, looked him square in the face, and said, thank you for going. His jaw dropped, and he got an amazed look on his face. And then he said, no one has ever said that to me. He hugged me, and I could see he was about to get tears in his eyes. It gave me an idea, because there is much more that needs to be said. How do we put into words all the regret of so many years? I don't know, but when I have an opportunity, I take it, so here goes. Have you been to Vietnam? If so, I have something I want to say. Thank you for going. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please forgive me for my insensitivity. I don't know how I could have been so blind, but I was. When I woke up, you were wounded, and the damage was done, and I don't know how to fix it. I will never stop regretting my actions, and I will never let it happen again. Please understand that I am speaking for the general public also. We know we blew it, and we don't know how to make it up to you. We wish we had been there for you when you came home from Vietnam because you were a hero, and you deserve better. Inside of you there is pain that will never completely go away. And you know what? It's inside of us too, because when we let you down, we hurt ourselves too. We all know it, and we suffer guilt, and we don't know what to do. So we cheer for our troops, write letters to any soldier, and we hang out the yellow ribbons and fly the flag, and we love America. We love you too, even if it doesn't feel like it to you. I know in my heart that when we cheer wildly for our troops, part of the reason is trying to make up for Vietnam, and while it may work for us, it does nothing for you. We failed you. You didn't fail us, but we failed you, and we lost our only chance to be grateful to you at the time when you needed and deserved it. We have disgraced ourselves and brought shame to our country. We did it, and we need your forgiveness. Please say you will forgive us, and please take your rightful place as heroes of our country. We have learned a terribly painful lesson at your expense, and we don't know how to fix it. That's signed by a lady, and it's not only signed, but it had an address, so it was really very easy to check it and authenticate it. World War II was fought to save the world from Nazism, fascism, and imperialism. We went to Korea and then Vietnam to stop the spread of communism. Our conflicts now are because we need to stop Islamic terrorism wherever it is in the world. All of these were and are good reasons for us to fight. It's about freedom. Many in the counterculture of my generation came to be known as elites. They were to a large degree on college campuses and had read a few controversial books which gave them their wisdom and arrogance. They believed that they were wiser than those of us that wouldn't be a part of their counterculture, as well as being smarter than their parents being the greatest generation, as well as being the generation that got us involved in Vietnam. These elite counterculturists still claim to speak for my generation. What they shovel does never seem to change. For a little perspective on our elite counterculture of the time, here are a couple of statistics. During World War II, Harvard University lost 691 of their alumni. And that was in approximately 5 years, I believe, a little less. They only lost 12 in Vietnam from 1962 to 1972. That's 0.02%, in approximately twice the time. In the same period of time, 1962 to 72, Princeton University lost 6 alumni and MIT only 2 to Vietnam. Thus, the term elitist came to the counterculture of my time. Woodstock came about because of the counterculture. As I stated last year, during those 4 days, August 15th through the 18th, 1969, of music, drugs, revelry, and free sex, 109 Americans were killed in Vietnam. Here's another perspective starting statistic. Hanoi, Vietnam is now admitting that 1.4 million of their forces were killed during the war. We lost 58,000. We did not lose a single battle, but we lost the war. The counterculture of my generation and the politicians of the greatest generation lost the war. We were winning when I came home all 3 times. Today is a very special day set aside to honor the men and women who died in service to their country. From our revolution to Iraq and Afghanistan, there have been those that believe that our country and our freedom are greater than they. Please honor and remember all of them. For our freedom, our country, and for those who gave all for us, I also ask you to be vigilant that we don't repeat the ugly part of our history. For those of you serving or having served in our current conflicts, thank you. And I need to tell you, I'm still in awe of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Butch. We will now have a flag folding ceremony performed by the Butte County Composites Squadron 95. The presentation will be to Mrs. Donald L. Sullivan. Following that, we'll have Amazing Grace by Andrea Gilstorf. And following her, we'll have the rifle salute on the part of the VFW Post 5731 and American Legion Post 210. Following that, we'll have taps and then the benediction by the Reverend Carl Coulter, the United Methodist Church.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Would you please stand and remain standing, please?
Let us place ourselves in a meditative moment. Pearl Harbor, I am there. Bataan Death March, I am there. Midway, I am there. D-Day, I am there. The Bulge, I am there. Iwo Jima, I am there. The 38th parallel, I am there. The Yellow River, I am there. Pork Chop Hill, I am there. Incheon Landing, I am there. Dak To, I am there. Khe Sanh, I am there. Saigon, Tet Offensive, I am there. Kuwait City,
I am there. Fallujah, I am there. Baghdad, I am there. Helmand Province, I am there. Kabul, I am there. Camp Echo, I am there. I am there, and I am here. I am peace. Amen.
That concludes our ceremonies today. Thank you so much for coming. The good Lord held the rain. Now it can come, okay, as you go home. The most important thing I guess we can leave with you is this. Mom and Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, keep the message of freedom going in your homes. We need that so desperately, and we're so grateful to have the youth here and to perform so superbly. We bid you farewell for the day. Remember, I want to leave you with one other thing. You know, somebody somewhere said that we're in decline as a nation. I don't believe it. And I want to share with you what Carl Sandburg had to say about that. I see America in the setting sun of a black night of despair ahead of us. I see America not in the setting sun of a black night of despair ahead of us. I see America in the crimson light of a rising sun, fresh from the burning creative hand of God. I see great days ahead, great days possible to men and women of will and vision. That's you and I. Let's keep the fires burning, okay? Have a great Memorial Day.
I know your son Ed. Ed Clark. That's Lady Barbara. Nice to meet you.
Well, I tried the name of the program after I looked at it. No, I did. No, I looked back and saw that.